Hi, morning, traders. Welcome to another session of Market Snapshot. I hope everyone is excited as we go into jobless claims later. Remember, everyone who's joining in, hi. As you get into the market, you must always understand we have three types of analysis: it's fundamental analysis, technical analysis, and sentimental analysis. So fundamental is where you're looking at the economic data, right? So many traders have been trading without looking at the fundamentals and what's the impact of that. You could be in a very good position, but the next time you're looking at your trades, you're out, right? Or you've made some money and you can't explain how you made that money, right? So that in the long run affects your consistency. So it's very important that as you enter any market, have your economic calendar check, right? Go to Forex Factory, go to my FX book, go to Trading Economics, go to investing.com, go to all these other websites, right? And have a look at what is coming out, right? So earlier we had some data from Australia, and we also had some data from New Zealand. So the CPI data came in 3.8 in Australia. That led to the strengthening of the Australian dollar. Now, remember, the New Zealand dollar tends to follow what the Australian dollar is doing, right? So at 4, then there was now the New Zealand interest rate decision, where the forecast was that they will be maintaining 2.25. Right? That is what traders had expected. And so the actual number came out as expected. But then, as we will see in our charts, NZD strengthened, right? Because of the strengthening of the Australian dollar too. So we should always be looking at this. And I know that there are some guys who had running positions in the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. If they were looking for sell opportunities, so you can be sure when they woke up, they couldn't understand what really happened. And this is why you'll hear some guys say, no, I blame the broker. No. Take responsibility by making sure that you have the knowledge, make sure that you have the skills so that you're able to take advantage of these opportunities at an informed level. So that was it during Asian session. We now have the unemployment claims data, which is the most important data as we go into the New York session. Remember, currently New York session is opening at 4, right? So what is this basically? It's the number of individuals who filed for unemployment insurance for the first time during the past week, right? It's very important because this shows you how healthy the labor market is or is not, right? And it all goes back to the economy. How is the US economy doing? Is it able to churn out jobs? Right. So if the economy is not churning out jobs, it means there's a problem in terms of businesses. Could it because they can't access loans, right? And this is where now you hear Trump is pushing for rate cuts. And based on the conversations we've had, and maybe today's data will give us a clear perspective whether we'll have rate cuts in December. Now, if we go to FedWatch right now, before the news, right? 82% are saying there'll be a rate cut of 25 basis point, right? So after today's data, I foresee this number increasing to 90 or not. It all depends on what. Let's go back to this data. It all depends on what will come out. So remember last week we had 220K, yeah, the number of unemployed guys who filed for unemployment insurance. So a number higher than that expectation, this is what investors are saying, that it will be 226K. So any number higher than this 226K will be bad for the dollar. It will mean that, hey, we have a higher number than expected. So that means the US economy is doing so badly. And that now will pull a case so that we can have rate cuts. And the essence of rate cuts is simple. A reduced interest rate means that businesses can have access to cheaper loans. That's how they're able to hire. That's how they're able to expand into other areas, right? We know there are companies every end month, they pay through loans before business revenue comes in, right? So if, let's say, the interest rates are high, they will take a pause looking at the margins they'll be getting from the business, considering the interest they'll pay. They do their calculations. They're like, okay, we'll have to cut off some jobs, right? If we really have to be sustainable, we gotta let some people go, right? So that is what we are looking at moving into the New York session. However, any number lower than 226, right? It will mean that, oh, okay, at least there's still some companies are still hiring, right? Which is why there was a reduction in numbers. Actually, if we find a number lower than 220k, oh, that will be a good thing, right? We could see the dollar strengthening. So this data is very important. Now, there's some other data that will give us a better picture also. So if we go to my FX book, we have something called continuing jobless claims. What's this? So basically, it's the number of people who are currently unemployed and receiving unemployment benefits who filed for unemployment benefits at least 2 weeks ago. So this is like it's giving us some more data, yeah, and have not been hired or fired since that time is referred to in the US as continuing jobless claims. So expectations are that the number will be 1.98, 1975, 1.98 million. Right? This is the consensus. This is what investors are saying. So clearly we can see it's a higher number than earlier. So the actual number here, if it comes out higher, okay, anything higher than this, maybe 1.99 or even 2M, right? Then that will buttress now what traders are expecting, that, hey, Powell, this time round, you need to work on the economy. You really need to do those rate cuts so that these numbers are not increasing, so that guys can get employment. Remember, at the end of the day, employment spurs spending, and that is what pushes that is the bedrock of any economy. When guys are spending, money is moving from left, right, center. There's circulation of money in the economy. That is what builds an economy, right? And every government wants to see that circulation in play, right? So that is what we'll be expecting moving into New York session, and be on the watch out for that. The best thing to do is wait for the data release and then trade after that, right? But before then, just map your charts. Look at the areas where price could be going to. Look at the support resistance areas. Call them supply demand, whatever it is that you call them. But basically, look for those areas where you have buyers, areas where you have sellers, and map them. Wait for price to react to those areas. And then, based on your confirmations, you can enter a buy or a sell. So with that, let's go to my MT5 and let's analyze the possible moves as we go into NFP. So as we go to unemployment claims, so used to NFP, right? Okay, so we'll start off with USD JPY. So a good trader is one who looks at data from higher time frames and then comes down to lower time frames. So what is the expectation on USD JPY? So let me remove something, what we have here. So for USD JPY, I would probably want to see at, let's go to H4. I would want to see how USD JPY reacts to this order block. That is 156.65, right? That's an area with possible sellers. Let's go to H1. Yesterday's high is also an area of interest, and even the weekly high. So these are possible areas where USD JPY could be coming into. Remember, they could also act as your take profit targets if you're looking for buy trades. So now, having identified that, then you might want to look at price from lower time frames. that, hey, if it all depends on how the data comes out, right? But we could see a possibility of the market taking on that move all the way to that high. That's a possibility. So maybe a test of this low, right? We could see USD JPY come to test this area. And then maybe from there, we could see a continuation of that bullish move. So that is what I would anticipate to see on USD JPY. Okay, Bitcoin. Once again, today in the evening, we'll be having a beginner's class where we'll be looking at a strategy that encompasses the moving averages. So looking at these trade on Bitcoin, if you had a naked chart, it will be hard to know why, especially if you're a newbie, it will be hard to know why Bitcoin was held at this level, right? There was a downward move. But then the moment you add these tools, then you're able to see, okay, so apparently there was a moving average at the bottom that led to that, that acted as support. Yeah. And so that led to that bullish move on Bitcoin. So anyway, let's go to Euro USD. What are we expecting on Euro USD? Look at higher time frames. So looking at Euro USD from higher time frames, I will still want it to test that area, that moving average. There's also a possibility of us going to last week's high, that 1621, 1601. So those are the two areas I have mapped out as very high probability sell areas. Yeah. So if I were to look for opportunities on Euro USD, I'll be looking for buy opportunities from where price is at, a possible bullish move, maybe 25 pips, or a possible move to that high. Then from there, maybe I'll now look at possible sell opportunities. To this area, which is the Asian low, something of the sort. That gives us 58 pips. Remember, this is more of day trading, right? So to me, I foresee a situation where Euro USD will be buying, right? And then later, once we hit either these two areas, we could see some selling pressure coming in. Let's look at NZD USD. Once again, look at that. What I've just said, the strategy will be covering in our beginners class. So why is it that NZD USD was held on the 800 moving average? And we've seen that play out also on Bitcoin. Price was held on the 800 moving average, and all of a sudden there was support. So in this case, the 800 acted as a floor support, right? But in this case, the 800 acted as a ceiling resistance. There were sellers on that moving average. So let's look at possible moves on NZD USD. Could we see a possibility of us hitting this area? Right, there's something I can see from that move. It could also be, you can see this candle, you can see this week, right? This is what you'll call the high of the month, right? The high of the month of November. So that area, a pips difference of, is it 9 pips, right? So there are some strong sellers here on NZD USD, right? So maybe if price was to go back and test those areas, then it will give us a good possibility of hitting sells. So let's see where we are at. So if price was to test this moving average over here on H1, then we could see a possibility of NZD USD coming to this low, and then maybe we could see some bullish move to test that area. I can see another block here that is yet to be tested, this one on H4. So this would probably act as a possible exit on this trade. So if NZD USD was to test that area, then for me, that will give me a very good sell opportunity. To that area. Either this order block, right? Or what we've seen on the daily. On the daily, we can see a moving average. Alternatively, we also have something else here at 57.31, which is the monthly high, the highest price of the month of November on NZD USD. So those are three key areas where I would want to see price go to. So as you can see, it's a difference of 15 pips, right? 17 pips from 57.14 to 57.31. So those are high probability sell areas on that particular pair. What about AUD USD? AUD USD, let's go to higher time frames. I would probably want to see AUD USD test this moving average over there, 65.18. There's also another block here, 65.25. Those are two areas on higher time frames I would want to see AUD USD come to especially on the daily. So let's have a look at lower time frames. H4. What's H4 saying? So it's interesting here that we can also see another block, like you see this one. Though this order block was tested at this level and there was a bearish move. So you can see this candle that led to 95, 94 pips move. So I would still want to see price come back to test that area. So if AUD USD was to drop, then maybe we could see some bullish move or even that move. And then from there, we could see now a possibility of us selling this particular AUD USD. To this order block. Yeah, something of the sort. So that's what I would want to see on AUD USD. Let's have a look at USD CHF. Once again, for you to learn this skill, you really need to attend our beginners class or our mentorship class. So right now as we speak, there's a mentorship class that is ongoing. Then we have a beginners class later at night from 8 to 9 p.m. Just make sure that you go through the comment section. There are some links over there that on the description of the video, you will see learn how to trade. Just go select the evening session, the 8 to 9 session, and we will meet up then. So what are we looking at on USD JPY? Could we see a further weakening of the dollar as we go into unemployment claims, right? So if the number comes out lower than 226, sorry, higher than 226, so 227, 228, 230, anything above that will be weak for the dollar. All right, so that's something that we really need to be on the lookout for. So if I were to map USD CHF, I'll probably want to see a move to that low on the daily. There's even an order block here, this one, that could act as support. There's also another order block here. And then we have the weekly low, the lowest price this week, right? That was set up on Monday. So these are possible areas where USD CHF could come to. So right now, I would probably want to see a bit of a bullish move before taking on a sell. Maybe a test of this order block, bearish order block, which is the last bullish candle before I move down the broke structure. So this structure, this lower low was broken by these candles, right? So if price was to come back and test this high, then it will give me an opportunity to now look at those possible sell opportunities. So this could be take profit 1, this could be take profit 2, it all depends. Okay. That's USD CHF. What have we not covered? GBP USD. So once again, look at that powerful move to the 800 EMA. Like I said, the 800 EMA clearly, we are seeing it's a tool that you can use for your take profit. If you're looking for buy opportunities here, then the 800 would have been your exit. Just like we've seen on Bitcoin, the 800 on the daily would have been your exit. We've also seen on NZD USD, 800 would have been your exit. This one, right? So there's a pattern that you can see and you're like, hey, something. So if you're getting that pattern, then don't miss out our class today, because this is what I'll be covering in essence, yeah, so that you guys can have the skills and know why is it that this moving average seems to be holding, right? So okay, on GBP USD, I would want to see a bearish move. If this order block was tested, it will be a good one. That 129, right? That 129 will be a good area for me on GBP USD. Alternatively, we have the moving average. That's an area also where we could see some support. So I would want to see a bearish move. Either that, knowing GBP USD, it's quite volatile, right? So it could easily hit this area before going up. If it hits the 129 area, that would be a very good trade for me, because it will have hit a lot of stop losses for guys who don't trade based on confirmations, right? Call them liquidity pools, call them whatever it is that you want to call them, but they would have hit a lot of traders, and that now would now give it a bullish cycle. And your exit will be probably on that moving average, exit 1. So if you look at it from H4, and then the other possible area to exit will be here on those moving averages, 3250, 3249, 3250. Let's call it 3250. There's something called a quarter point around there. So mapping out GBP USD, a bearish move will be a good one, and then a possible bullish move for 120 pips or this one also could play out for 105 pips. That's GBP USD. Final, let's look at gold and we wrap up with UT 100. So once again, look at what we've just described, the 800 EMA. So this bullish move on gold currently is courtesy of the support on the 800, and it has given out 1,618 pips, courtesy of support from the moving average, the 800. So when used in the right context, these moving averages are quite powerful. Okay, so let's see. What are we expecting on gold? Has this order block been tested? Let's see. It's yet to be tested. So anticipate gold to go there. And then there's also the weekly high on gold. Yes, the highest price this week. Sorry, the weekly, sorry, not the weekly high, the monthly high. This is the highest price month of November so far on gold. So this is an area with potential sellers, or in this case could be an exit area, right? So let's see what we would want to see on gold. So I would still want, just like we've seen on these other pairs, I would want to see gold test some lows before continuing with that bullish move. And one low where I would want to see gold come to would probably be this one, the Asian low. Yeah, this is the Asian low. That's an area where I would want to see gold first test before continuing with the bullish move. So if gold was to come here, right, maybe it will first hit this order block. I can see also something on H1 here. There's an order block here too. So if gold was to first test here, we'll want to see a bearish move and then a bullish move and a further bullish move. So maybe if I were to test an order block here that I have seen, that one, 600 pips, this candle over here, then maybe a retracement and then a continuation of the bullish move, and that one. Those are possible areas where you could exit on gold. So that's gold. Finally, let's do UT 100. So UT 100 is Nasdaq, right? Nasdaq refers to a basket of stocks, tech stocks, you know, Microsoft, Tesla, Nvidia, name them, right? So what are we expecting? Remember, stocks will react to the data, right? So if the numbers come out high, above 226K, right? Maybe 230K. We've just said that this is not a good sign, right? There's the cooling off of the labor market, right? Companies are no longer hiring. And one of the reasons why they are not hiring could be due to lack of capital for expansion, right? And so that could mean that with the high number of data, unemployment claims, to 230 or whichever higher, whichever the number will be, but I'm looking at a bullish number from 226, maybe 227, 228, 229, 230, you know, that will mean, like I've said, the Fed would have to cut interest rates. And this is where now companies like Microsoft, basically companies in Nasdaq will benefit from cheaper loans. And so that will be a bullish one for them, right? But anything lower than that, well, now we could see Nasdaq reacting negatively to that, right? So let's go to last week's high. That's a possible area where Nasdaq will be coming to. And then Maybe there's also this one, that one. That's a possible area where Nasdaq could also come to. But before we get to those areas, I would want to see Nasdaq first take on a bearish move. It could test this low, the Asian low, or even that moving average. So a bearish move, and then from there, maybe we could see some bulls. That. So that's it with the analysis. We've just covered USD JPY. We've covered Euro USD, right? So Euro USD has already come to those lows. So remember, we have either that area or this other area. So those are the possible areas on Euro USD. NZD USD, it's dropping. Let's see how it reacts to this low. Then AUD USD, has it already hit our area? Yes, it has already pinned our area where we had identified as a possible buy area. Let's see how it reacts to that. Then USD CHF would want it to take on a bullish move and then a sell. GBP USD would want it to take a sell, and then from there we can probably take on a bullish move. So those are the two areas that we have mapped out. So once again, this is purely educational analysis. This is just us looking at possible market moves based on what even we train you guys, right? So it's more of building your confidence so that you can take your trades. But of course, you're the one making that decision whether to buy or to sell. Let me see if there's any question. If you don't have any question, then of course I would now want to good analysis. You have allowed me to find bearing on my trading. Awesome. Just make sure that you have the skills, right? Yeah, so that's very key. That's very key. Hello, Mr. Robert. You're my teacher back in Thika, 3 years now in trading, past 8 prop challenges. Wow. So far, I'm happy for myself because I didn't quit it for those years of hard time. Now, 1 year, which I can say I'm somehow profitable, of which I won't be overconfident. Yeah, man, be watchful. Be careful, man. Ego will blow that account, right? Too much because I know market can humble. Yeah. I'm a product of FXPesa. Awesome feedback. Awesome. We love that, right? So once again, for someone who's joining in, look at the feedback from guys who've attended our sessions, and now they're able to get some meaningful trades from for themselves. Hey, morning, Charles. Good morning, everyone. Kindly show us one demonstration on how to trade. Simon, kindly go to this video, right? Under this video, there's something, learn how to trade. Go to that bio FXPesa, click that link, then go to the morning session and the evening session. So for you, ideally, you seem to be a newbie, right? So go to the register for the evening session, the 8 to 9 p.m. And that's why we get to train you for free how to trade. Nice. Okay, cheers, Simon. Thank you. Good analysis. Nice one. Thank you, guys. I recommend this video to your friends, to your colleagues as we wait for the market to play out. Let's see where the opportunities are. But remember, before you enter a trade, make sure that you have confirmations. Don't enter blindly. Just because I've outlined areas with buyers and sellers doesn't mean that those areas will sell or buy, right? You need to look at the other confirmations. If you don't know the confirmations, please attend our classes. I'm seeing feedback from guys who went through our classes and they're doing well for themselves, right? Awesome. Great work, Robert. I'm really grateful that I can now get something from the market. I'm guessing you've attended our sessions. Baguma, if I'm not wrong. Shakib, I don't know. Just confirm for us whether you're a product of the free FXPesa classes, right? Anyone else? So, guys, make sure at the end of the day you always enter. Yes, awesome. Thank you. Cheers, man. and everyone else who's a beneficiary of our free classes, right? Don't let that information pass. You know, give and you shall receive, right? Why don't you share this with someone else? Tell them, maybe they go for free classes, right? There's so much that you learn, and take your time. Just make sure that once you get into the market, you're trading based on information, right? You're not gambling, right? Because you have a clear-cut plan to trading. I think that's it, guys. See you. Bye-bye.